Threat!
Threat down.
Hello everyone, I'm Paul Kerner with Omega Tactical Concept. It's Friday, May 1st, 2020. I want to reach out to everyone and talk to everybody a little bit about concealment methods and considerations when you are considering carry out and about, where you carry, how you carry. Things as simple as what clothes are you wearing makes a big difference in what you carry and how you carry it. As it relates to concealed carry and holsters and weapons and the different things, your different options, they're immense. So this little video is simply to help you out a little bit and help you understand the importance of being able to conceal in a strategic way and also in a secure way in order for you to be able to access your weapon correctly and appropriately without having issues. A lot of that has to do with training and experience and practicing, but it also has a lot to do with what you're wearing and from your clothes to your holster and your belt and the weapon system that it holds. I want to add one other thing, and that is that some of the considerations, or one of the most important things that you need to consider, is being consistent. So wherever you carry, that you carry it in the same place all the time. Now let's get to the clothing, because that is going to dictate where we are going to carry. Now that may sound silly, but our clothing is a direct reflection of our size and our weight. And when I say our clothing affects where we carry it, what I'm saying is the size of clothing that we wear. So if you are a person who is very slender and have no fat mass on you, or very little, it actually is a lot easier for you to draw that weapon up against your body and conceal it, compared with someone who is like me, a little overweight, or someone who is even more so overweight, because the angle of the gun and the way you have to carry it changes, and it may and often does dictate what part of your waistline, if you're carrying it on your waist, that you wear. The best approach to carrying, honestly, in my opinion, and I know my partner's opinion because I've talked to him about it, is appendix carry, which is directly below your belly, or right in front of your belly. Well, being a little overweight, that makes it very difficult for me, and if you're overweight, then it's going to be very difficult for you to carry there. The reason it's best, in our opinion, to carry it there is because it's a lot easier to access if it actually can be concealed. However, like I said, mine, I can't conceal there right now until I lose a little bit of weight. So I carry on my strong side hip. And when you get to your clothing, there's two parts of this that you have to consider and or understand. And first of all, if you're carrying, which I recommend, and you don't have to, there's a way to conceal guns outside the waistband, but I strongly urge you to find a way to do it inside the waistband. It helps conceal it better. It actually is a firmer, more stable weapon system, having it inside your waistband compared to outside, which is important as it relates to drawing. However, you also need to consider, kind of getting off this clothing stuff, but I'll get right back to it, but you also need to consider when you're drawing that you can draw within or inside the waistband. And it takes practice, which we will talk about that in a later date. So the clothing, as it relates to going inside your waistband, your jeans, obviously, well, not so obviously, because people do this every day, but they need to be looser than normal. So if you gain weight, you need to get a little bigger pant size or short size. If you lose weight, then you may or may not be able to carry it, depending on how much loose space is there, because too much loose space is not good as well. So, but the point of the clothing as it relates to your pant size is it needs to be a little bit bigger than your waist. And how you deal with that is once your weapon system and holster, including your holster, is pushed down inside of your waist and locked into a belt of a sort, which we'll talk about in a few minutes, then you tighten your belt up and it becomes secure. That security is twofold. One is you don't want it to drop out or be accessed by someone else, and also the more secure it is, the easier it is to draw from. If it's loose, and I was helping a young man do some drawing from a concealed carry position the other day, and I noticed that his pants were a little loose on him. His belt maybe could have been a little more tight, and so that has an effect on your drawing ability. If it's loose and it's giving, it's going to catch on things. It's going to catch on your holster even, and it also is going to relate to, again, and I'll talk about this, the type of holster that you decide on getting to do your concealed carry. So that's kind of sort of your pants and your waistline. As far as covering up the weapon system with a shirt or a jacket or whatever, I got two things to say about that. I wear a t-shirt underneath whatever I am draping over top of my concealed weapon. The reason I do that is if you are carrying all day long, which I do, then that weapon system and the holster can be uncomfortable. So you need to really consider wearing something underneath your pants line and tuck it down in to protect your skin from the weapon system that you choose in your holster. The other thing is with the outside garment, the shirt or jacket or whatever you're going to wear, you also want it to be a little bit bigger than normal. If you wear a real tight jacket or a real tight shirt, then it draws close to your body, and you have two issues with it. The first one is with concealment in general. Concealing is going to be a huge problem. Your outer garment needs to be a little larger as well. The reason for that is if it's real tight, then it will show an outline of your gun or your weapon system. You'll see the indentions of the handle and so forth sticking out, and you'll have problems concealing it. But the other part of that is if it's drawn up close to your weapon system, it can often catch the end of the handle as you're pulling it up out of the way. It can get in the way of the handle. So you don't want it too loose. Too loose isn't good either, because once you pull it out of your way, which we'll discuss in a different session, and tips of how to carry, conceal, and so forth. But so when you pull it out of the way, you don't want the extra cloth or fabric to grab a hold of the handle and get in your way when you're pulling it out. Or once you get it out, sometimes it will do that. So that's your outer garment. Your t-shirt or whatever should be a little oversized. Your jacket should be a little oversized. That includes a sport jacket, a dress jacket if you're going to be dressing up and carrying. If you're dressing up and carrying, I would suggest you be as consistent as you possibly can, and that includes if you normally carry inside the waistband, I would suggest you do that. But if you, as long as you're doing it in the same position, in the same place, you should be okay, as long as you practice both on the range and maybe at home and do some dry firing with an empty weapon. But with a jacket, there are some issues. Sport coats, as an example, there are issues, and other jackets, but sport coats become a little more more problematic, I guess you would say, depending on the size of it. And what I mean by that is you have the jacket, the side of your jacket that you have to deal with, and you have to be able to get it out of the way, and there are techniques to do that. But then once you get that out of the way, if your jacket sleeves are too long, then those sleeves get in the way. And so when you grab the handle, the sleeve is actually of your jacket is actually on the handle in between the handle and your hand. And when you pull it out, it gives you a problem of accessing your weapon. So those are some considerations about your pants and your shirt and your jackets and so forth. There's lots of different ways to carry a weapon concealed. You can conceal it in an ankle holster. You can do a shoulder holster. You can do strong side hip like I am right now. You can do appendix, which is right above your, basically right above your belt buckle. You can carry in a pocket, which I truly do not recommend. I know and have acquaintances and friends who carry in their pocket, and to me it's not good access, especially if your pants or your jeans or your shorts are too tight. It's extremely hard to access your weapon if you carry in a pocket. So behind the back carry, or what some people would refer as 6 o'clock as it relates to a clock, is not easy to access, especially if you have a shirt or a jacket or whatever covering up. It becomes a whole lot more difficult to access. Grabbing it from the back is harder than your side or in front of you. Even a cross straw is easier to access than the back is. And I bring that up, and I have to say that I've done a review of the shooting in White Settlement, Texas, back in the end of December of 2019. And the first gentleman that was shot trying to access his gun, his weapon system, whatever it may have been, from the rear. He was sitting down. He had to actually get up out of the bench seat or the pew, and then he had to get rid of his jacket and get his gun and keep the jacket out of the way, and he had difficulty, as probably just about anybody would have difficulty. Now, there are ways to get around that. You practice a lot, you can deal with it, but why worry about dealing with something when you can make it a little more simple? And so when we get into probably next week, I'll talk a little bit about how you access your weapon as it relates to shedding the clothes that you do have on, or not shedding them, but moving them out of the way so you can access your weapon system. One of the most important parts of your clothing is your belt, and we like to look good and have nice belts on, but when you look at law enforcement belts, for example, this is the holster belt, or the belt that holds the holster on it for law enforcement, and it's very thick, it's wide, it's sturdy. Now, this doesn't go through any belt loops. The belt goes over top of a regular belt of a sorts, and then it has keepers or snaps to snap it together to make it secure. However, when we talk about a belting system to have a concealed weapon, particularly, it doesn't really matter, in the waistband or outside the waistband, your belt is what is going to be the solid thing, or the thing that's going to hold it there to keep it from moving, which is important as it relates to accessing your weapon system. Most people wear dressier belts. As an example, I think you can see this. This is a normal little dressy belt, and when I went to church or whatever, I used to wear one of these till I actually got smart enough to realize I needed to change a little bit. But if you try to use this type of belt and an appropriate type of holster, you will see as you put it in the holster, and of course it isn't on me, but you can see how loose it is. See if I can't turn it around. It moves up and down, and it moves sideways real easy. So the dressier belts look nice and everything, but they're really just not sturdy enough to hold your holster appropriately. So you should consider getting you a thicker belt. I got this one at I'm not trying to sell Cabela's or anybody else, but I got this one at Cabela's, and it fits this holster firmly to where now it is firm. You don't have the wiggle, and you don't have it going sideways on you, at least not nearly as much. So the belts are a very important part of your accessories as it relates. Don't forget that. Don't just get by. I paid, I think, $60 or $70 for that belt, but if it means my life or someone else's life, it's worth that kind of money. And the same thing goes with a holster. There are many kinds of holsters, and sometimes it seems extremely hard to choose what type to go, and we all try to get by with the least that we possibly can, and that would be something like this. It's just a vinyl and cloth type holster. It has a Velcro strip here, which actually is supposed to hold it in there and keep it secure, but it can become problems as it relates to drawing or accessing your weapon. So also it has a straight clip, and if you understand what I mean by that, it will go directly over or down over a belt as such. I can get this done. It's actually very simple, which is the problem. So it's clipped on there, but all I have to do to move that out is just simply move it up, and it pops right out. So the little vinyl holsters with the straight clip are not a good design correctly for them. You can tell it's empty. I'm going to go ahead and close it so it'll fit in the holster, and it fits in, and it's fine, and the Velcro goes over. And I talked about how this can be an issue. That's in another segment. But when it comes to this, when you put this on and you put it inside your waistband, it is going to squish. It's going to come together. It's going to pinch the weapon. And what's going to happen is two things. The first thing is it's going to be difficult to pull out. I'm doing it with my hand, and it was difficult to pull out. The other thing is that once you get it out, holstering it back, you're going to have to try to fit it in this because of it being between your body and your belt. And so it's almost impossible to put it in without actually working it around and using two hands and so forth. So that is the issue and or problems with the vinyl or the cushiony ones, the soft ones like this. I truly don't recommend it. These are, I don't know, I haven't priced one forever. I don't know how much they are, but I'm guessing you probably could get them for $10. I don't know. Again, don't waste $10. Your life is more important than that $10 purchase. The next holster system or with a belt is a leather one similar to this. And again, I got several here to show you. There's a bunch of different ones. This is a leather one. It's outside of the waistband. It is not inside like the other one was. And so when you look at this one, it actually is a little better. It is outside of the waistband, so you don't have the pressure up against it like you would inside the waistband. And again, the weapon is unloaded. It fits in pretty snug, and it clips in. This clip has a little thumb release, which is nice and makes it easy access out. If you're going to carry outside of the waistband, I'd recommend something like this. They're okay. I do want to caution you on one thing, though, and that is that particularly when it comes to any holster, you're better off with something firmer rather than not as firm. Now, this leather holster is firm, but it isn't as firm as one of them that I'm going to show you here in a few minutes. It still will squish. So if you're going to go with a leather one inside your waist belt or waistband, it's still going to squish. It's not quite as bad as the vinyl is, but it's still going to give you those issues and problems, so that's something that you need to consider. Next holster I want to show you is a paddle holster. It's a leather paddle holster. It's actually a pretty good quality leather paddle holster, but so the way a paddle holster works is the belt goes around your waist, and hopefully you have a good firm belt. It goes around your waist, and then the paddle holster actually slips in behind your pants and your belt and goes down under and slips on. Now, this has some issues with it that really need to be addressed, because once it's on there, if you bend down to get something, particularly a heavy weapon like this one is for, this is for a Smith & Wesson 45, if your leg or your knee or something were to catch this, it actually will push out. It will push out and drop to the floor, just like the nylon holsters will with the straight clip on it. So that's a precaution. They're other than that, it's a decent outside of the waistband holster, like the other leather one. It's not as secure as the other one. I really honestly don't recommend them. They're comfortable, they're easy to get on and get off, but that is the problem. They're easy to get on and to get off. So if you're trying to protect yourself and others, a paddle holster, really, just my opinion, is probably not your best option. The last holster I want to show you is the one that I've decided on using. I am going to tell you the brand of it because everybody's going to be asking me anyway, and it's a DeSantia, if I'm pronouncing that correctly. DeSantia, it's DeSantia, if I'm reading that correctly. I don't have my glasses on either. It's a vinyl type holster, and unlike the other ones, it is in the waistband holster. You can get them outside or inside. But as you can tell with this, it's vinyl, and if I'm pushing on it, that is the give that it gives. Now, the one thing with these type of holsters are you got to be more particular on the size and the brand of your gun. It will make a difference in which one of these you buy. I think I paid $30 for this. I am, however, very pleased with it because my weapon is very secure. It's easy to access. It's easy to pull in and pull out and put back in its place. It takes practice, which we will again talk about in a future video. But so one of the things I like about it is that it is firm and that it holds its place. Even within the waistband, it holds its place, so that access is good. The other thing that I really like about this, and which is not like the other holsters with the exception of the brown leather one that I showed you, the other thing I really like about this is that it is about the same size. The belt clip is about the same size as a good firm belt that you would want, and it slips down over it like so. And I did this a while ago, but it doesn't just slip over there and keep it from moving very much in comparison to the other holsters. It also has what's called a C-clip, which I'm going to take it off here and show you. I'm going to take it off as this way. To pull this off and out, it's not going to come very easily. You actually have to pull it apart to do that. And if you can see this in this video, it's going to maybe be hard, but the C, it comes down underneath it and clips it in. That's why it's called a C-clip. So it's a lot harder to get the holster to come out of where it's positioned onto the belt, which makes your weapon more secure. It's sturdier, it holds its place, it allows you to pull your weapon and place it back in the holster a whole lot easier, a whole lot safer, and it takes work like anything that you do as it relates to concealed weapons and being able to access it. But again, I think it was $29-30 bucks. Good price, good holster, and you can move it around, you can adjust it. On this particular holster, I'm not selling holsters, guys, so don't think I am, but you can loosen this screw here and it actually will rotate this part around to where you can angle it to make it fit your body contour a little bit better, depending on how much weight you are. Or maybe you don't have to adjust at all. Maybe you can do it straight like I have it here. There are times where I will move that depending on what I'm wearing, where I'm going, and that type of thing. But whatever you're doing, I suggest you do it right. there's a little saying that I knew, but it took on a whole new meaning to me here recently, and that is do things the right way the first time. Because if you don't, you can go ahead and prepare yourself to do it again. And when you're talking about accessing your weapon in an emergency situation, when there's a threat present, you're not going to have time for the second time. So do it right the first time.
Threat!